Okay, yeah, great. Hi everyone. This is a conversation with Damien Mansell today from the University of Exeter, exploring the synergy between education and industry and our collective experience at the university and within WSP. Hopefully we can share some context and insight about how the education we had doing geography at the university has fed nicely into our workplace and some of the future skills that we're expecting to come into the sector as we go forward. Yeah, we should have a nice focus on skill development and then hopefully a bit of info for current undergrads at Exeter as how they can get in touch with WSP and explore the opportunities on offer once they finish the degree program. Damien, thanks for joining us. Yeah, introduce yourself if you wouldn't mind.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Associate Professor of GIS at the University of Exeter. I'm in my 11th year of teaching here. I think I am, although George just said before we started that it was 10 years ago he was a graduate at Exeter, so maybe that's creeping up on me. But needless to say, the course has evolved so much during that time, and there's a huge shift in focus of skills, and looking forward to having this conversation with you and learning from you and growing our network.
Perfect. Thanks, Damien. We've got Bradley Hucker here as well. Brad, I don't know if you want to jump in.
Yeah, so I'm more recent towards Damien's later 10 years. I was a student under him sort of 2 or 3 years ago now on the BSc Geography of Applied GIS field course. And now I'm a graduate strategic modeler at WSP within their graduate development program. I sort of sit within the wider mobility and transport sectors. So who are WSP, we might ask? We're one of the leading professional services firms in the world. We provide strategic advisory, engineering, design services to clients in transportation infrastructure, environment building, advisory, engineering, and design services to clients. Our trusted professionals united by the common purpose of creating positive, long-lasting impacts in the communities we serve through a culture of innovation, integrity, and inclusion. Now that's out of the way. I think potentially if we start, I was going to ask Damien if he could describe a little bit about the course and particularly how it sort of adjusted to the industry norms and standards over the last 11 years, I guess.
Yeah, thanks. I came to Exeter teaching physical geography, and a core component of that was GIS, geospatial analysis. And throughout that time, it's just been a huge, we've seen like a geospatial transformation. This huge focus on geospatial data, much more industry sort of identifying the opportunities, and so that's translated into our programs. We had introduction of geography with applied GIS, so students have been applying these geospatial skills like throughout their geography degrees, and then more recently introduction of a MSc in geographical information science, which has a focus on environment, sustainability, business, and employability. I can talk more about that, but that's kind of our offering from Exeter Geography.
Great, thanks, Damien. Yeah, and Bradley, as Damien's mentioned, that applied GIS course really emerged as a result of demand, a bit of shift in the market, and what skills a core geographer skills looks like. So maybe Brad, you can tell us a bit more about kind of your perspective of your time at Exeter and the course, and what kind of critical skills and mindsets that you developed during your few years at Exeter.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't actually start with the BSc Geography Applied GIS course. I started as studying BSc Geography, but as it turns out, transferring to that BSc Geography Applied GIS course really helped me get employed at WSP. It sort of forms the basis of the core skills that I employ on the day-to-day basis at the moment. So from that perspective, of course, you build on sort of soft skills. You've got communication, teamwork, problem solving, and leadership. They're all important, but they're, in terms of getting employment after work, they're not going to be the real differentiator between you and the rest of the field. I think more to that perspective, you've got your bigger skills in terms of report writing, data analysis, data presentation, troubleshooting. And within that, you learn sort of how to draw from multiple reliable sources of information and sort of present a coherent final report that really highlights everything you want it to. And these skills were really developed for me in terms of sort of the remote sensing field course modules, the ice and field course, GIS for professionals, and particularly in the dissertation. I think if anything, that's your sort of biggest day-to-day use of skills in terms of drawing on that data, going through all the processes of analysing the data, presenting the data, and then sort of looking into the future as to how you can really quantify them in something successful. And I think as well, you don't just get the skills, you get the mindset that's associated with the skills. I think some of the most undervalued skills that I hadn't really come across before, particularly coding, and even the GIS aspect, I hadn't really heard of it before I went to Exeter and undertook that first applied GIS module, I think. Yeah, I can't remember if it's in the first year or second year now. But yeah, it's something you really learn is sort of how to conceptualize those skills and sort of build on them instead of just being able to, undertake a practical, follow the steps. You're sort of encouraged throughout the entirety of the course to go that step further, download that extra data, develop the data presentation the way that potentially you hadn't thought of before. And I think that's really the skills that the employers look for. So sort of before this, I asked some colleagues, that their main sort of priority is that you can adapt to problem solving, you can think on your feet, you can use sort of the GIS and the coding aspect for something that you hadn't potentially thought of before, and it's a unique and sort of really visual way to present the data and to solve a problem that might not necessarily before have been able to be solved. So yeah,
that's really not an uncommon pathway. We have many of our geography students excited about the subject, and then when they learn about GIS or remote sensing, and it just opens that opportunity that you sort of have that vision of actually there's all these connections. We talk about linking data together, and that geospatial, or more commonly now temporal element as well, just being able to link all that together. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity to share that with your organization, just to sort of maybe help your colleagues identify some of the opportunities and potentials in geospatial data. And I think that's one of the changes that we had in the course was this real focus on problem solving and ability to transfer skills. Like you say, there was this sort of practice of just being able to run through tools, apply skills to certain maybe research-based focuses, whereas now it's all about applying geospatial concepts to make informed decisions, like making decisions from data analysis rather than these knowledge-based decisions making. And so that approach you can apply then to different sectors, industries, use cases, and it led to this need to sort of bring in skills, like you say, as coding. It's actually this is important if you want to try and answer questions like this, or if you want to make decisions based on big data, or running multiple tools many times, batch processing. Then you're going to have to start to do some coding, and probably at the time when you were doing the course, I might have been a bit apologetic about, oh, sorry guys, you're gonna have to learn some coding. Whereas now, that's de facto, coding is sort of embedded through the program, through a geography degree here. And we're sort of having discussions with colleagues that we might have used to have about, how do we get students learning these coding skills. Now having similar conversations about machine learning for spatial analysis, or how do we incorporate high precision digital twins in our programs. So the program evolves with the sector, but the skills that students are coming out with now are cutting edge and not sort of constrained by a particular pathway, but completely transferable. Like we teach across platforms, from proprietary software like Esri to open source solutions, QGIS, or even just solving some of these solutions in an IDE, running some code. So your route is common.
It's funny you say about batch processing. Actually, it's just the other day we were sort of processing mass files for a batch batch code. And it's even from that GIS perspective as well. You can use batch processing for GIS to undertake multiple sort of analyses within the same set of code. I think that's a really important part of Esri at the moment as well. They're growing with Python within their software. But yeah, it's just the variety of the skill sets that you learn. Even if it's just at a basic level while you're at university, you've got the core skills necessary to build on that and really employ them on a day-to-day basis in the workplace.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Sorry, I was going to say, even if they're just core skills, it's about showing like opportunities, like knowing what you can do with some of these tools,
exactly.
like batch processing. Knowing that it's possible just opens that door to discovery and being able to problem solve for yourself. So, sorry, George.
No, it was a segue really, Damien. You covered it off nicely. I was going to just kind of touch upon how you guys, and you've mentioned it there briefly, talking about with colleagues about those digital twins, etc. Just how you and your colleagues are taking input from across the industry or from across the professions to feed in to the course, and how it gets tweaked, or is it still a little bit driven as to what's being looked at from an academic perspective?
So in the new GIS MSc, we've incorporated digital twins actually into the curriculum there, and we do have research focused academics. So we have that side of the program. I've sort of moved towards teaching philosophy that incorporates different sectors, businesses, industries. And with the digital twins aspect, I've been working closely with InView Assets, collaborating to provide comprehensive instruction and support for students to apply, point cloud generation or 3D analysis to planning or commercial drone operations, what's involved in that as part of the course. So working with InView Assets allows us to sort of have that commercial understanding of the process. Yeah. So all our students, they take a course in drone certification. So they have that sort of ability to go into the sector with a certification that allows them to do commercial data collection, but they have the understanding of actually like what's it used for, what are the use cases, and we get that through talking to InView Assets, understanding their customers and what they need from the data, which there is a lot of overlap with our research needs as well. But it's just having those collaborations that really allows for like fresh perspectives, innovation, and getting the different specialist skills as well, and insights as to this is what your students need to be learning, because we making sure that we're not missing anything so that our students are ready for the workplace is really important for our programs.
I think something that sort of set it out to me is we were at the annual Esri conference, sort of my final year, and everything they were presenting on was all the core skills that we'd learned through to the sort of GIS professionals module that year. And it just really is sort of shows that it's up and coming knowledge. It's something that's being taught. It's something that's being developed as well. It's really useful and applicable to any sort of job role, and it's a good skill set to have.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think Damien sort of looked at me and was like, "I think we're on the right track with this one."
Perfect. It's nice to have that kind of sound check, isn't it? Really, to get a feel as to that you are equipping yourself as an undergrad with positioning yourself really nicely for what the sector needs, and also what it's going to need in the future. And I think we're going to come to that question really for you, Damien, in a second. At WSP, we talk a lot about those kind of emerging dynamic trends. We've got a future ready approach, which is basically our visioning of what's at the forefront of everything we do, how we see the future a bit more clearly, how we capture those opportunities and synergies across different challenges and disciplines, and then how our design solutions kind of stack up those benefits and outcomes. And it was really interesting, Damien, where you mentioned there that it's about having students who can see those problems think a bit outside the box to solve them and look to be proactive and offer those fresh perspectives. And that's definitely at WSP, I think, how we use that kind of ground up early career professional model is take those young professionals with fresh skills from university and give them the confidence and the motivation to push through their ideas and challenge the status quo. And especially with our future ready kind of mindset, make sure that we're really consistent, that we get it from problem definition all the way through to detailed design and construction. And we see every lever we can pull to get that in as an opportunity to make a solution that's a bit more robust, a bit more resilient, or draws in different sectors across kind of the environmental, let's say, engineering, consultancy business. I mean, Bradley and I, we sit on the same floor at work, and although we work on very different things, it's not difficult to grab each other for a conversation and find out what you're up to. And more so, especially in the water space, it's really about that collaboration across disciplines and making projects multidisciplinary to deliver lots of outcomes at scale to meet the challenges of today. It's great to see how geographers coming out of Exeter, even from a decade ago, like me, I started a decade ago, actually the fundamentals are there and the curiosity, I suppose, is there as well. So you're evidently doing something right, Damien. Bradley mentioned there a bit about the Esri conference, and we kind of kick-started the thought behind having this conversation around the alumni network. So, Damien, kind of what's the real value of that alumni network, and what do you think you'd like to get out of it over the next year or two?
Yeah, thanks, George. So you mentioned there about being future ready, and your students are in this unique position of being right on the cutting edge and making a change. Well, that only works if our programs evolve and are keeping in line with the transformations, which is almost an impossible task. So it's almost like, well, which aspects of the discipline are we gonna focus to include? Which new aspects are important? What do the sector needs? And so that's why I really value these conversations with you, because the alumni network is a supportive network. It's ready-made in the fact that we've all got this common ground of not just loving the subject, but our experiences at Exeter. But the main driver and the reason for its success is because it's mutual benefit, right? It's supportive. And for me to be able to inspire my students to go on and work at WSP or other other geospatial businesses, I need to inspire them. And to do that, I need to be inspired. And it's the alumni, it's you guys, it's my former students who are going off and doing these amazing things and having these conversations that I then bring back to the program. And so allowing our students to be in this position where they're at the cutting edge, they can apply their work in diverse sectors beyond research or education, and do that through discovering emerging techniques, applied methodologies, identifying the skills gap and demand in certain sectors, to allow them to have these opportunities in employment, but also to inspire them and give them that confidence. Like you say, it's kind of reassuring when you go to these sort of big industry events and you can sort of see that your skills are valued and they're sought after. So yeah, mutual benefit and a ready-made kind of support network, which which is there for lifelong learning and growth and support.
I think something that's really good as well is for us as alumni to sort of come back and annually the GIS for professional students sort of present how they've developed their dashboards. It's really good to see sort of the evolution of the students' development as well, because some of the stuff that they were presenting last year was, in terms of the coding aspect of it, is just completely way above what we were looking to achieve. And it's just, yeah, the evolution is really good to see. And those skills are all going to be coming into the workplace, potentially putting us out of our jobs, but it's really, really impressive to see. Yeah.
Well, you can come back and do the
There you
do
go.
the MSc. No, yeah, that annual conference. So at the Esri annual conference, we host the alumni meeting during the lunch break, and it started in 2019. Held the first one just because I kept running into alumni, and then we had a 2-year break. So this year will be like only the 4th annual meeting in person. But yeah, it's really growing, and it's one of the most rewarding parts of my job, meeting up with alumni and hearing about how you're applying these skills and what you're doing. Like I say, it's inspiring for me as much as it is for you to sort of see what's new and what's coming up and what's coming in. So the MSc program, Geographic Information Science, it's in its first year. I've got a small cohort, but like a real mix of backgrounds. Only one student is a geography home student, so we got a mix of international or late career kind of people retraining, identifying that there's these sought after skills and wanting to change careers. So there's opportunities for people to join these programs part-time or full-time. Yeah, do get in touch with me if you want to know more about these programs and opportunities or upskillings, or even if you want to contribute, talk to our students, tell them what WSP, well, actually, Brad, you came in, I roped you in for a talk. Came in, yeah. I was like, whilst you're here, Bradley, come and talk to our students, tell them about WSP and how you're applying these geospatial skills. So yeah, like I say, it's this mutual benefit that really helps it to grow.
Absolutely. I think that's the big success we've seen at WSP as well, with like people like Brad, actually get back to university and share what you've picked up in your first year or two as a grad or as an early career professional. And like for example, I think I was there that first year, 2019, at the Esri conference, and met a few course mates who I'd not seen for a couple of years since I finished. And it is a great opportunity just to connect and outside of that, check in and see what everyone's been up to. So I think it's the 14th of May this year, potentially. Anyone and everyone who's listening, do make the most of that lunch break and check in with Damien and Bradley, who'll be there, I think, as well. Brad, I think we were going to just try and cover off a little bit as to what the current cohort with Damien can look to see from WSP, and some avenues for coming in and seeing how we work as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, WSP, they're a big company. I think we're 67,000 globally, with almost 10,000 in the UK now. Growing fast, which means there's lots of opportunities for young talent to sort of join our team, whether it be in a graduate capacity, experienced young professional, placement student, or even later down the line in later career. Speaking out to the alumni network there. We hire from a variety of sort of degree backgrounds, particularly on the graduate schemes. I think last year we hired 250 graduates across our 47 UK offices into a variety of sort of business sectors. But there's a really good tool on the website to sort of analyze what degree program might best suit your career. And one thing I found really useful about the application process is you don't really just apply for one sector. You can sort of choose your preferred location in 3 steps. You can choose your sort of preferred career option in 3 steps, and then your sort of skill set's best suited to what's available. Well, what jobs are available within the company itself. And that's something that I didn't think a lot of other companies had at the time, especially as I was applying to sort of 40, 50 companies at the time, which is a challenge in itself. But then also now with sort of I think with Applied GIS, you can do a placement year. Is that right, Damien, as well?
That's
yeah,
right.
so you can do a placement year as well. So I think we hire about 100 placement students every year. And that's sort of in terms of summer placement or year in industry. And then with the option, I think you can have a scholarship if you perform well throughout that year. It's up to £1,650 to cover your fees for the final year, and then with a job offer afterwards. So that really sets you in good stead. Something that I potentially wish that I should have done also along with a year abroad as well. I thought that was a really good opportunity that I didn't take up. But yeah, the applications sort of open around the October time, close around January, and if positions aren't filled, they reopen again sort of February time, I believe, with a start date of September the following year. And they're all sort of listed on the university's Handshake app, which I believe is the main path through which you can get a grad role after university. I think there's loads of all the major big companies there, especially within the geography and sustainability sections. And as well, I was going to touch on that there's we're a big company, so we operate in over 40 countries, so there's the opportunity to work abroad as well. And that's made easier once you're in the company. There's all sorts of options to apply for and transfer office. So the main thing is just getting through the door, I think.
Definitely.
Lots of opportunities.
Definitely lots of opportunities, Brad. I think, for example, myself, I've worked on projects in Singapore and the Middle East, obviously from my desk in England, but also loads of scope to work on stuff worldwide. And we've got a really great graduate pathway and program. I think it puts a lot of onus on those young grads. A lot of ability to be proactive and work independently. And put your work and your skills to use straight away. I think you're testament to that, really, Brad. Of
absolutely, yeah.
It's finding your feet really quickly and putting those skills from Exeter to practice. I think we're coming to the end of our kind of conversation, or at least the questions and topics that Bradley and I had prepared to chat about. So I don't know if Damien, you've got any closing remarks, or Bradley, if there's anything like you'd like to cover off before we close things out.
Well, I think if anyone's listened to this before the 11th of March, there's the University Careers in Sustainability and Environment job fair. So that's definitely worth coming along to. I'll be there with a few other representatives alongside, I assume, hundreds of other companies. So that's really worth coming along to and just getting to know your options, especially if you're thinking about applying for job roles next year. Yeah. I don't know if Damien's got anything to add in terms of. I'll be at the annual Esri conference this year, so we'll try and get as many people as possible down there, and hopefully with a few other alumni presenting from sort of how their Exeter days have led to their careers at the moment, especially within my year.
I just wanted to say, thanks for the opportunity to talk today. You talked a lot about inspiration and you guys inspiring me and my students. Thanks very much. I'm looking forward to meeting you up on those two occasions, Bradley. At the Esri UK conference, got to thank Addy Pope for his support in helping run that meeting, giving up that space and that time. So do come along and say hello if you're there. And I look forward to learning more from you. So thanks for hosting us, George. And
no problem.
We'll do it again, maybe.
Yeah, and anyone listening, I'm doing a similar conversation with Dr. James Webber from the MSc Water Engineering Systems, I think, Water Systems Engineering, in a few weeks' time in April. So keep your eyes peeled as well. Another Exeter-oriented convo, and always relevant for geographers. I went from physical geography into water, so loads of opportunities there. And thanks, Bradley. Thanks, Damien. Great to chat with you. And looking forward to seeing what feedback comes back from the students and our fellow alumni. And see you around later in the year. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.